let's fill out the rest of the top 10 here. Field of 68 consensus top 25 has Gonzaga at number 6, Baylor at 7th, Duke. The Blue Devils are ranked 8th ahead of North Carolina, who is 9. And then JP Pegues and the Auburn Tigers check in at number 10. Terrence Oglesby, are you in agreement with what the remainder of our top 10 looks like?
Heavy Big 12 wing, of course, rightfully so. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Gonzaga and Duke. I feel like Gonzaga has a real shot to end up in San Antonio and what they have on that roster. You could see kind of the excitement with them without being too verbose whenever we were there at Media Day. I'm really excited about what Gonzaga has to offer this final, or was it this final year in the WCC, or is it 1 year from now?
No, they got 1 more year after this. They leave in 2026.
1 more year after, yeah. So the last 2 years in the WCC, kind of their 2 victory laps, if you will. I think they're going to be really, really good. And Duke at 8, Duke's going to be the best team in the country in February. Like, they're not right now. They're going to have to figure it out.
A little bit of a hot
is it really that hot? Like this is kind of where we're at right now. This is kind of where we're at right now with every Duke team. Like, they're going to have extreme talent that's going to take them a second to figure it out. It takes John a second to figure it out, like what combinations work at Cameron Indoor. And then by February, it's like, oh man, these guys are all together. They're playing well at the right time. I think Duke also has very strong shot to get to San Antonio and actually win the national championship, because that blend of big, older guys, and when I say big, I mean wide, strong, Sion James, Mason Gillis, those guys, alongside these super talented freshmen in Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel, like special.
Okay. Can I play devil's advocate?
I think North Carolina might be a smidge high. North Carolina might be a smidge high. I have them in the 10 to 15 range.
You do that well, so yes, of course you can play devil's advocate. Go ahead.
Here's what I will say is this is a team that 3 of their top 3 players are going to be freshmen. Their top 3 players were because at this point we've said, like, Tyrese Proctor is a good basketball player, but he's not going to be what Rob Dauster told us he was going to be a year ago, which is the greatest player on the planet. Caleb Foster is a really nice college player. Rob, I'm getting you back. I'm getting you back for that NATO slam.
Well, all I'm going to say is I was a lot closer to being right on Tyrese Proctor than somebody on this show was about Andre Curbelo. So if you want to go down that road, we can play that game if you want. I'm here for it. I got receipts too, Coach.
From the product, all right? That never happened, okay? Anyway, Tio, my only point is, like, in this day and age of the 5th, the COVID year for these kids, this is it. I just think still it's going to be difficult for a Duke team that's best 3 players are true freshmen. One is a reclassified freshman, to win the whole thing this year. I agree they're going to be better. Like, the team that I think, honestly, is kind of high in the preseason rankings, and we're giving them the benefit of the doubt because of one man, and that one man is the insane coach on the sidelines in Stores, Dan Hurley, and he's incredible. But I think we're giving them the benefit of the doubt, UConn, because of one Dan Hurley.
Yeah, and I think that they've earned the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, nobody thought that they were, on paper, heading into the 2022-23 season, they didn't have a team that was good enough to win a national championship. They weren't even ranked in the preseason top 25. Last year, the consensus was this team's probably like a top, 10, top 12 kind of a team, and it took us 2 weeks to realize, hey, you know what? Yeah, we might have messed that one up. We probably got that.
Klingon was hurt too. In our defense, nobody knew. Remember, the big question last year going into the year also was, like, is the big boy going to be able to be healthy and stand up to a season last year?
Yeah, and he was, and it turned out well. And this year there are plenty of other questions there as well. Like, you got new guys that are going to be asked to play new roles, going to be asked to play bigger roles. You got some transfers coming in that haven't played at this level before. So look, I get it. There's plenty of reason to doubt UConn this year. And I promise you that every single one of the people that brings this up, they're probably going to play this in the locker room tomorrow to let all these guys know, look, Jeff Goodman hates you. Rob Dauster hates you. All of these guys think you suck.
Nobody thinks that you hate them. Yeah. Nobody, everybody knows that you wear UConn, everything. I mean, from head to toe.
I will say this. They have very good video editors there, so I'm sure that they can clip some stuff together to make it sound like I'm saying lots of negative things. I just want to. I want to double down on what T.O. said though. Like I wish I'd gone first, because I literally would have said I have Gonzaga 4th, I have Duke 5th, and I have UNC outside of the top 10. I don't need to rehash the whole everyone knows I worry about the defense, the rebounding for North Carolina. And T.O. kind of hit the nail on the head with everything he said about Duke. I just want to go back to Gonzaga though, because I feel like this is the year. Right? Like, I feel like this is the team where Mark Few can kind of get that monkey off of his back. He's got a 5th-year point guard in Ryan Nembhard, who's been around, who's seen some battles, who's had a deep run into the NCAA tournament, who knows how to play. Nolan Hickman had his best year as a college basketball player this past season. He's kind of figured it out. Graham Ike was 16-8 last year, and I don't think anybody realized how good he was down the stretch of the season. I think 7 straight 20-point games. And not even Drew Timme did that at any point in his career. They brought in Khalif Battle to kind of be that change of pace offensive weapon off the bench. They got Michael Ajayi, who is one of the most efficient scorers in college basketball, that will allow them to play smaller if they need to, because he can play up and play the 4 if he has to. And if you guys remember, when we were there, right, we asked him, who has impressed you the most? It was Ben Gregg, it was Graham Ike, and it was Nolan Hickman. We asked them who has impressed them the most in practices in the summer and the fall, and every single one of them to a man said Emmanuel Innocente. And I don't think any of us even remember that Emmanuel Innocente had transferred. I don't think any of us had even heard of him before he committed to Gonzaga after leaving Tarleton State. I think you look at the depth, you look at the age profile, you look at the team that they've put together, the balance they have on this roster. I think Gonzaga is awesome. I think that if I had to pick right now, I'd probably say Gonzaga, Duke, Alabama, and Kansas are like the top 4 I would pick to win a national title right now.
So you didn't have wait, Gonzaga, Duke,
Alabama, and Kansas. I think are like the 4 that on paper have like put together the strongest rosters.
See, I just don't know about Duke because of the backcourt inconsistencies. It's hard for me to get totally sold. We're talking national championship. I just think I trust Kelvin Sampson, even though that they've had back-to-back years of tough losses. Like we keep saying, we said this about Marcus Sasser. How are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? And then we said that we're saying this now about Jamal Shedd, and it just feels like, Jeff, and then we're going to break, that it's almost getting taken for granted because their name's not Kansas or Duke, right? Or UConn now, that we're talking every year, every single damn year. Houston's in the top 5. They came into the Big 12. We're like, how are they going to handle life in the Big 12? Well, they handled it with flying colors. They won the league.
Pretty well. They won the damn league.
They get Milo Suzon now. They bring back their starting front court. They've got LJ Cryer. Emmanuel Sharp apparently looks great down there. Like what they have become, Jeff, they're as much as a Gonzaga of like chasing the elusive title as anybody.
I think the big thing when you're putting together a preseason top 25 these days is and I've done this for a while now, but the last 5 years in particular, the really good coaches, you ride those guys. You ride them as far as being in that top 10, right? Like Hurley, Nate Oates, Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self. I'm not sure Shire's there yet. Mark Few obviously is there. Scott Drew is there. So if they've got good enough rosters, you're going to elevate them into that top 10. And I think TJ Otzelberger is a guy that right now, again, we're sleeping on. We're sleeping on that team. We're sleeping on Tamin Lipsey and how good he is, and the culture at Iowa State, and the defense and the toughness and all of that, and the buy-in to roles. That's a team that I just don't think enough people are talking about because, frankly, again, you got Kansas and Houston and Baylor in the same conference right now, and those are like sexier teams.